We are
Didi
and Arma, and in our daily lives, we support people on the path of self-liberation. We teach time-tested energy skills like Qigong, Tai Chi, internal alchemy, traditional nutrition, and meditation.
We help people release stagnation, build energy, and become aligned with themselves and their purpose in life.
In this podcast, we share the methods, skills, and solutions that helped us, our students, and now hopefully you move forward.
Let's explore transformation together.
And today we're going further with our alchemy podcast. This is part 2. So all these alchemy things are about like you are a microcosm in a macrocosm, right? As above, so below. And wow, this. And then when you look back at where we came from being young and you read about Jesus Christ and things like that, or Buddha, and everything starts to make sense.
Yeah.
Even Einstein, starts to make sense,
Complete
right? That
sense.
he was looking for exactly the same thing, more from a scientific standpoint maybe, but I think very deep religious person as well.
Yeah.
Is looking for truth and who are you?
Yeah.
What are you doing here? What's this mystery we're in?
And that's so beautiful. If you don't look at the differences, but if you look at the overlap of all these things.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
So what is Tai Chi, right? What is Qigong, right?
Yeah.
It's alchemy.
Yeah.
You have to learn alchemy. That's what it's all about. It's a spiritual path and building a foundation. So what we've learned so far, I guess, is that you cannot do that without a strong foundation, right? So see it this way. If you have the vital energy or the physical, you could say, right? And then we have the Qi level, right? The astral energy, as it's also called, and we have the Shen. These are like plateaus,
spiritual.
right? Yeah, the spiritual. And these are like floors, and there's like this elevator shaft, and you can rise up with this elevator and go see what's the landscape on this plateau, right?
Yeah.
What can we do here?
Yeah.
And that's all about recognizing where stagnation is, on a physical level. So the first thing you're doing here, the first alchemical thing that's going on is song. It's what we call song. Is this transformation from physical stress to fascia, to stretch. And that's the foundation, right? And that approach of Mark, that was just mind-blowing. Elastic force Qigong.
Yeah.
Build elasticity.
Yeah. And we of course, I think 2 podcasts before this one, we talked about fascia and digestion.
Absolutely, yeah.
And how that's related.
Absolutely. So that's where it, that's where we
that's one of the things how we connect.
Yeah, absolutely.
On that physical level, and how especially and we can see it firsthand that when I was training with you and I was doing my thing with food and herbs. And
that came into our lives.
And the courses I did. And we shared all those things. It's not just knowledge, but also experiences. And that it was going so much faster.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, before I started with Rasmus, while I was still training with Roel, my first teacher, Roel also introduced me to a book by Damo Mitchell called White Moon on the Mountain Peak, which is all about Taoist, internal alchemy. Neidan, okay? So, and I trained that for a year.
Yeah.
I did that.
I remember.
Yeah. That was quite something. I did that for a year. And that was all about this approach of, reverse breathing and bringing building energy into the lower dantian and building heat and things like that. And I was still in that process when I met Mark, and then he said like, okay, you might consider letting go of that training. And I was like, why? Because this is going to lead me to blah blah blah. And it was working like crazy. It was working like crazy. I was doing every day. I was training with that, but there was so much heat build up for me. It was just not, I was not becoming a very nice guy. No, I was explosive like crazy, and there were all these heat problems, and he was like, and Mark was like, why would you want to store anything? Why would you want to do that? Why do you want to hold on to something?
Yeah.
When at the same time you can become a conductor for all the energy that's already there, right?
Yeah.
And that's what he meant with the stretch. He said, just develop fascia, develop fascia, develop fascia, clear resistance, go sung, sung, sung. And what you will notice is that you're just streaming energy all the time. And of course you can store it, but I learned how to store it in the bone marrow, which is so much more safe, you could say, and just use it up in the day, give it back if it's, still there in the evening, if there's too much. But I kept feeling better and better and better and all the time. It doesn't mean that this Taoistic approach doesn't work, but it didn't work for me.
No.
For some people, I think it can actually work. Yeah. But I was like a sort of, why would I want to store it? You know? Of course, I wanted more energy. I understand, from that point, that was what I was looking for. I wanted more stable energy through my day. But I think this stability came eventually with training with Mark from creating this strong construction.
Yeah. Because
now I'm always open and always elastic,
And I think there is also what you see is that there's connection now with you have exchange with the energy around you instead of kind of cut off from storing it within you and saving it. Kind of feels like more like a stagnation almost.
Yeah, and it's costing energy as well to keep it there, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to put anything down here, It was a great introduction also into internal alchemy, and I think it works for a lot of people. I think but it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And I was so glad that I found Mark and that he was teaching this, and it set up the whole foundation for this. And of course, we started building from there, right? It's like, okay, we have this introduction to vital energy, and then how to change that to chi, because there's a difference. Yeah. How to release time, and now all the qigong that I learned before started making sense coming from that frequency. I'm like, okay, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Getting in contact with all the senders and everything. And also going through the more emotional things, like, so what are stagnations on that level, right? Emotional stagnations. And that's where you already developed the herbs, right?
Yeah, because they are so on the emotions. And what I see is that most people have like a theme in their life that's holding them back.
Yeah.
And that can be multiple, but there's these beautiful herbs that can help you go through things like, maybe there is something, why am I here on earth? And do I deserve to be here? Do I really feel that I own my space? I see that, and in all variations, I see that one coming back. But it can be other things or grief that's there, and then the herbs really give you kind of a support system. Yeah,
there's magic there. Yeah, it's just pure magic. Yeah.
And it's what I found. Of course, first I studied 5-element food and traditional Chinese medicine, but the day I came in to that school, I also did an introduction on herbs, and I wasn't planning to do anything with herbs, but I remember because
I was there.
You were there.
I was there.
You
I was
were
like,
there.
What is this?
And we just stayed on because there weren't so many people for that course. And it was just an introduction lesson. And we were sitting there and I was like feeling, whoa, something deeply resonated with me.
Absolutely. And I saw it and I was like, Because I think the unique thing was that they were not working with the Chinese dried herbs or things like that. They were working with the Chinese approach, the 5-element approach, but then with the herbs that grow here.
Yeah.
The fresh stuff, right? And how do you recognize a plant? Is it more young? How is it with the leaves? And how do you recognize? And what does the color say to you? And man.
Yeah, and then I also found out much later that actually my great grandmother was a herbalist in her days.
Goosebumps. Yeah.
And so it's kind of, and I think my grandfather, he was always talking about all these herbs, but I just didn't really realize that it was something in the family that was kind of going through my DNA.
And now you see it's pretty unique.
Yeah.
And you see, and what you see is that you have this ease with it, right?
Yeah.
It's almost crazy how you can come up with this, let's call it a recipe for, a herbal recipe. It's like,
it's just coming.
It's like you're cooking a pasta, It's so easy. It comes so naturally.
Yeah.
And you're so aligned with that, right?
But it's I think, again, with feeling and working with energy, what I did learn, I met a man who does the, not aromatherapy, but the Bach blossom. I'm not sure. Bach blossom. I'm not sure what the
it's like
English,
extracts from flowers and things like that, right?
And he was working with the energy of the plants. And we would do that, but not so much. And he taught me how to feel energy and to tune in to the energy. And that was so the same as what you would do with working with,
the ball,
getting
energy,
into the energy and then
breathing.
And then going into the energy of the plant. And I was like, wow. And you can really communicate with the plants and totally changed my life. Totally changed my life. And because communicating with plants on this energy level, you feel so connected. And it's so much easier to work with the plants. Because I love working with plants that I'm just looking outside at my garden at the moment. When they're growing around you, that's so powerful. That's what you want to use. The plants that just grow around you and telling you. And
everything starts to make sense, right?
Yeah.
Nothing is for nothing. No. And we are sort of brought up with everything sort of like chance or, like we're sort of cut off from this experience and then something. When you start to go into this stuff, nothing is a coincidence anymore. No. It's just this. It's just what it is.
Everyone that you meet, everything that happens to you, it kind of falls in place and it's part of your experience. And I wanted to say that earlier on when you said about your training. And I think what's most important that you have an open mind for everything and that you experience it as then you can say, okay, this worked for me or this didn't work for me.
Exactly. It's all in the experience.
Yeah. And that's so important.
That's so important. If we're building this pyramid, right? The Jing, the Qi, the Shen, and moving beyond. It's the experience that you have on all these levels. So, okay, we're not talking about Dantian. There is my Dantian. I can feel it. Yeah, okay. Now I feel this energy. Oh, now I feel that. Now I feel that. And then everything starts to align. And and that's.
And then you have so many, and that's so great. And then there are so many teachers around you. Because everybody is going on a journey, and gives you information, about their journey, and you can. Yeah, if
you look at the movie, coming back a little bit to the start, is that now you can really recognize and you can place it in the system, you could say, because it actually is a system, right? These systems are old and they work, and So you can also see on what level is someone, is he here, is he there, or where am I here, where am I there?
And so, but you say, okay, coming back to the start. So just for now, where are you now at this time in your process?
In the process where I am now is that I think, there's this foundation that's there. I work a lot with Akasha and light at this moment. So that would be Wuji and light training. And also still fine tuning if there's any resistance or blind spots in the emotional body, in the mental body that I'm aware of, that I can let go of and help stream this light through me. Through Akasha or Wuji, and clearing this resistance out. I think it's just there's so much has transformed already, but I think there's all these layers that you're still peeling off. And being introduced to this Akasha and light training by Mark is the best thing that ever happened to me. And I teach it also, right? Yeah. But it's all, I think people have to understand that it's not only a spiritual path in the sense that you are climbing this ladder, but it's mostly recognizing where stagnations are by climbing this ladder and then bringing it back down again, right? Streaming this light and become the streamer of light. So I think that's where I am now. It's like I'm so much more aligned with myself, but I also feel it still needs work, you know. And but I love it, I love it.
And it's interesting how because that's your training, but then it reflects on your life. Or that's, if I look at myself, I see, and I'm not as far in that training as you are, but you see what has happened in your life and where you're now, recording to what you're doing, how we spend our days,
Absolutely.
how fit we are, how much time we spend on good food and, and doing the things that we really love.
Well, if you really know yourself, right, and you clear this resistance, then who are you?
Yeah.
If you clear the resistance, who are you? Well, there's alignment there. There's the spirit, there's the soul, right? There's this light want to come through, like your higher purpose, whatever you could call it. You feel that that's coming through you without effort.
Yeah.
What was costing effort was the resistance, right? The resistance is the effort. And if you start realizing that, like, I'm resisting here, which Tai Chi is such a great training for, because it's all about flow and, recognizing resistance, then everything starts to make sense, right? Because it's already there. The spirit is already there. The soul is there. It's more like what's stuck there and where are we distracted? If we can let go of that, it just starts making sense. And there's like this huge relief that's becoming stronger and stronger. And of course you share that with people. That's why we share so openly. Because I think it's not easy to find per se, unless you're open to this, right? And then we'll find you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're saying like I'm further in this process, but that's not what it is. No. I think you are on your own unique path with this, and you rock and roll, because it's this connection that we make together, which makes this such a strong, little family, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
And for you,
where am I at this? Well, I think what I see for myself is a rapid transformation happening all the time. And I think I also see that I adapt more of your training and that we do more training together. Yeah. I've done a lot of your courses, been one of your students as well, as you're my number one client.
And guinea pig,
so I think that's great. And I know what you're talking about, and I adopt that more and more. And of course I do have my own path, and I do have my own sources with inspiration, and I think that's really good.
Absolutely, and you bring this feminine aspect into this into this household, and that's just amazing. Yeah.
And I think also that lately we've been working with astrology and the moon, and getting into all these rituals around moon, the new moon and the full moon, and talking about birth charts, and so.
But I think it's inevitable is that when you start, you start tuning into your own nature, right? Yeah. Because that's what alchemy is all about. First, you start with yourself, but then it expands, right, into the universe, really. Yeah. So I think going from, what you're talking about, the food, making food, what are we cooking?
So
and then we're going to herbs. And then at that same time, that's no coincidence. We move from an apartment to a house with a garden, right? And we get this garden. Well, and then you get this expansion of experience. And then I think astrology is a logical
and
expansion of that, right?
Absolutely. And I think for me, all these steps are so logical. I have always been a child that loved to play outside, and I've always been, as a child, I was always surrounded by flowers and plants, and loved to grow them, and walking with my bare feet on the grass, great.
Yeah.
And then when you grow up a little, you kind of lose that feeling, that playful, that connected feeling with everything that's around you. And I feel that this training and our life, I get that feeling back more and more. I start to get to know me more and more again.
Yeah.
And allow myself to be that person that I am.
Yeah.
And that is, I am a nature person. I love to connect with plants and trees, and love to be outside. I love to connect with people as well, of course. But and in a way, the society taught me a way of living that wasn't really for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to kind of, you need to come at a stage where you say, okay, enough is enough. This is not working.
Yeah, I know that stage.
I want to find my own path and move away from that. And some people around me say, oh, you're all this woohoo. And for me, this is so with my feet on the ground. So
connected to nature, and that's
there's
woo.
Nothing woo about being one with everything around us and feeling what's good for you. I think they're with their head in the clouds most of the time.
Totally. But
or in the mist.
Hopefully they wake up from that at a certain point, and you see it happening.
I wish everyone that journey.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone is on that journey.
Yeah.
But a journey is not only in one lifetime, I think. It goes over multiple lifetimes for sure.
I think alchemy, and we talk about it all the time. It's
transformation. That's what we're doing. It's all about transformation. In the future, I mean, of course, in this podcast, we're not really going into the exact steps and teaching the steps per se, but I hope you get an idea of, what it does in a life for someone, right? And of course, we're going to go deeper into this material, teaching it, right? Fascia, the energy work, and the mental training, and all these things to make sense out of it. But I hope this gave you a sort of a
insight
story, in our lives, of course, right?
In how we see things, in how we experience them.
Yeah.
And how we work together as well, and why it's so impactful if you blend and get more knowledge and experience on the table in this process.
Becomes a niche in a niche in a niche, you know. It's like so.
Yeah, I hope this was helpful.
Yeah, thanks for listening. It's been a 2-part series because it was pretty long, and it could have been a 5-part, I think. But it was great talking to you about this, Didi. And sometimes it's good to go back, right, through the story and where are we now?
Very great. So I hope to see you soon.
Yeah.
And,
take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.